you look at films like Willow, if you look at films like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, I mean Labyrinth, right? There is that human connection, and that there's that relatability,
Yeah.
and that's why I probably didn't connect to it either. But again, in terms of a production, um, I could tell that a lot of effort and work
Oh,
went into that. It's not just even about the production, but the designing of the characters, and then making sure that things don't fall apart, or all that stuff. Um,
well, Jim went about Dark Crystal in a sort of weird way, but a very Jim way, where he basically designed the world first, and then
mm,
the script came out of the world rather than the other way around. He he had this big period of research and development when he had Brian Froud brought in and basically was funding, a year or more of playtime where Brian was designing creatures and things, and we were building stuff in. When I say we, I wasn't building anything. I'm not a puppet builder, but stuff was being built in the Hampstead workshop. So they were building like doing experiments on what the Skeksis could be like and what the Mystics could be like. They brought in a mime director, Jean-Pierre Amiel, I think, to try and teach the puppeteers how to do full body movement. Um, they were building these Gartham suits of armor, basically, and they were trying to understand. There was no animatronics industry. There wasn't like a whole bunch of people who understood how to do animatronics at that time. So people were being brought in from the theater. They had people, who'd worked on costumes for the Royal Opera House. They had toy designers who did remote control cars and knew how to do remote control. They had, all these sort of craftspeople really trying to figure out, how to do things which hadn't actually really been done before. This is still, the film I think released in '82, but the R&D was happening like years before the filming. So I think we haven't got The Thing yet. We haven't got American Werewolf in London yet. We've maybe just had Alien, which
yeah.
interestingly, I don't know if anybody knows this, but Jim told me this. He was approached to do the creature for Alien.
That
He
makes
was also
sense.
approached to do the aliens in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And I was a huge, big special effects nut, and I was like, why didn't you say yes? Why didn't you do that? And the Close Encounters, I think Jim, very honestly, he said, I'm not quite sure we could have pulled it off. He was
Mm,
worried that at the time that Spielberg asked him that they might not have been able to do what was needed for the film. He didn't think that everybody had the necessary skill set yet. And then for Alien, he said he said I couldn't do it. I read the script and I just thought that won't fit with our kind of image.
right.
And he said there were things in the script which got taken out in the final film, which he said I couldn't have done. I mean, it would have been bad for us as a company if we'd have done that creature. Even if we could have
Yeah.
done it, but there were some
Oh,
things
it's
in
the
there.
family brand,
Yeah,
right?
but but Jim liked weird, dark stuff. It wasn't that and so he was trying, and as I said, Muppets always, they began as late night. They were never kids stuff. They were sort of on late night TV talk shows originally, and they sort of migrated to Sesame Street, and then that kind of gave them a different image. But Jim he always liked dark, weird things. So he thought the Alien script was great, and I remember going to see Alien with Jim in London, and we went to see it at Odeon Leicester Square with I think a lot of the crew from either Muppet Show or Dark Crystal. It was a big outing. We like booked up a row of seats and I sat next to him as we, and he thought it was a really amazing, film. And again, I think he said to me that he did, he said, I don't think we would have, I don't think we would have made the Alien as good, but he wanted to, and that's why Yoda was kind of a sort of test run for a different kind of puppet making that led into what they were going to do in Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. Yoda was sort of the first. Can we get a main character that's not Muppety, that can work in a big close up, on a 70-foot screen, and that was a collaboration with Stuart Freeborn, makeup, senior, veteran makeup guy from but a lot of the Wendy Meidner, Brian Froud's now wife, she was working with Stuart Freeborn on the fabrication of Yoda, and I went to see when they were shooting Yoda, and that was really interesting. That was the first time I'd sort of seen a non-Muppet, puppet from the sort of Jim Henson organization in a very different kind of environment from the one I was used to from the Muppet Show and things. And I was like, oh yeah, that can work.